Hi everyone, Kevin here. Today I want to show you how you can use Microsoft Shifts. First off, what is Microsoft Shifts? It's a schedule management tool that's available in Microsoft Teams. It allows you to both create and manage schedules. When would you use something like this? Well, let's say that you own or maybe you manage a retail location and you want to manage everyone's schedule. Or maybe you work at, say, a hospital, a technology company, and you have someone who's on call, or maybe you have your incident manager and you want to manage those schedules. Microsoft Shifts can help with all of those scenarios. I'm going to show you step by step, first off, how you could set up a shift, and then how you can manage those. I'll show you what it looks like from a manager's point of view and from a team member's point of view. All right, let's jump on the PC and see how we can start taking advantage of shifts. Here I am on my PC and I have Microsoft Teams open. I'm responsible for all of these different locations for the Kevin Cookie Company. I have to manage employee schedules. I need to make sure that we have people covering all of these different shifts. Now, I don't want to do this manually. I think Microsoft Shifts could really help me with this. Now, first off, how do I get to Microsoft Shifts and how do I launch it? Over on the left rail, there's an ellipses. Let's click on that. Within here, you'll see Shifts as one of the recent apps. You can go ahead and click on this to launch Microsoft Shifts. Now let's say that you're going to be using Shifts often. You might want to pin it directly onto the left rail. To do that, you can simply click on Shifts and then drag it over, and that'll place it on the left-hand rail for quicker access in the future. For now, let's click into Shifts. This drops me on a screen where I can create a team schedule. To be able to create a team schedule, you also have to be the owner of the team. In this case, I own 3 different teams, one for each one of our retail locations for the Kevin Cookie Company. Today, for this example, I'm going to set up the schedule for the New York City location, but I could always come back in the future and add a schedule for London and also Hyderabad. For now, let's click on Create on New York City. On the next screen, it asks me to confirm the time zone for New York City. Now, I'm based out of Seattle, but New York is on the East Coast, so I'm going to select the appropriate time zone. Once I select the time zone, I'm also going to select the closest city. Now that I have both the time zone and the closest city selected, I'm going to click on Confirm, and this will now create the schedule or the shift for this retail location. This drops us into Microsoft Shifts, and there's quite a bit of functionality here. I'm going to walk through an example with our New York City location so you get a feel for how shifts work. Just to orient you to what appears here, across the top we have the days of the week, and down on the left hand side I have all of my employees. This is a brand new shift, so there's not much here yet, but let me go ahead and start adding some content. First off, I want to add 2 different groups. At the Kevin Cookie Company, we have service staff. You can think of this as people who work at the cash register. Maybe they stock inventory, they clean the floor, they respond to customers. And then we have the kitchen staff. These are the people who are making our delicious cookies. So I want to set up groups for each one of these because the kitchen staff, well, they're experts in the kitchen but not dealing with customers, and vice versa. Our service staff, they don't really know how to cook. So we're going to create 2 different groups. Now by default, I have an unnamed group here, so let me give this a new name. I'm going to click on the ellipses here and then simply rename the group. This opens up a prompt to rename the group, and I'm going to call the first one Service Staff. Once I finish typing in the name, I'm going to click on OK. I have one group. If I want to add an additional group to Shifts, I can navigate up to the top and I can add another group by clicking on this button. Let's click on Add Group. This adds another unnamed group, and just like before, I can click on the ellipses and I can then click on Rename Group. For this group, I'm going to call it Kitchen Staff. Once I'm done, I'm going to click on OK. I now have my 2 groups, but it's still pretty empty here and I don't have any of my employees appearing on here. So I need to start adding some people. To add people to these groups, over on the right hand side, click on the icon in the text that says Add People. This opens up a prompt where I can start adding members to the service staff. Now, if someone doesn't appear who you'd expect, first you need to add that member to the team, and whoever's part of the team, you can also then bring them into shifts. I have a whole bunch of different employees here for the Kevin Cookie Company, so I'm going to start adding people, and I'll start with Nestor. He's a fantastic worker on the front, and customers always rave about his customer service. Once I finish selecting him, I'm going to click on Add. I have to go through one by one and select each person who I want to add, so I'll just add a few of my employees to the service staff. Once I'm done adding employees, I'll click on Close. I also need to start adding some kitchen staff. I'm going to do the exact same thing where I click on add people and add a few of our team members. I've now added a whole bunch of people into these two different groups. I have my service staff, I have my kitchen staff, and I have a whole bunch of people appearing here. Tomorrow is a very big day for the Kevin Cookie Company. We're going to have a Michelin reviewer visiting the Kevin Cookie Company. If we could get a star or two from Michelin, that will basically ensure success for this business. Up on the top row here, there's a section called Day Notes. For tomorrow, I could click into this and I can add a note. For this note, I'm going to type in Michelin Reviewer Visiting. By typing this in, all of my staff will be able to see this and they'll realize that tomorrow's a big day and they'll have to make sure they smile and provide extremely good customer service. Next, I want to start adding some shifts. I want to make sure Nestor is at the Kevin Cookie Company tomorrow, so I'm going to select this box under tomorrow on Nestor's row and I'm going to double click in it. This opens up the add shift dialog and now I can fill out the details related to Nestor's shift. First off, I see that the shift is from 8 to 5 p.m. tomorrow. Nestor's selected and here again I can see the time. The Kevin Cookie Company is only open between 8 and 5 p.m. so he's going to be on point for the entire shift. Now let's say that it's a hospital or maybe a tech company and someone's going to be on call. You could also turn it to 24 hours by clicking on this toggle and that'll just adjust it for the entire day. I could type in a custom label here. For instance, if I type in cookie, you'll see cookie appear here on the shift schedule. I'm going to remove that for now and just stick with the time. Down below, I could also give Nestor a break during the day. I'm going to give him a 30-minute break just to decompress throughout the day. I know tomorrow is going to be a high-stress day with such an important visitor coming. Next, I could also add a shift note. This will be visible to Nestor as he looks at his schedule. I'm just going to add this in. I like including this, but remember to smile to customers. I know we all try to remember to do that, but sometimes it's easy to forget. These are all the core steps of creating a shift, but we can also define it in a more granular way by clicking on Shift Activities. I'm going to add some activities for Nestor's shift. For instance, one thing that I like that all of my employees do at the beginning of their shift is make sure that all the inventory on the store floor is stocked up. So for the first step, I'm going to say restock inventory. You could add a code. If you look up above, you see the code appear there. Now you could assign a color for this. Maybe I'll assign green to this, and then I could set the time for when this activity occurs. Now, restocking inventory is pretty quick, so I'll leave it at 15 minutes. And yes, of course, this is a paid activity. I would feel bad if I made this unpaid because it's adding value to the Kevin Cookie Company. I can now go through and add a few more activities. I've now gone through and I've added a whole bunch of activities for Nestor throughout the day. He's going to start with inventory, then he's going to man the cash register, then he's going to clean, and then he'll be back on the cash register. Now I applied different colors for these different activities and I also indicated the times. The nice thing here is when Nestor looks at his shift for the day, here visually he could quickly identify what his day and what those activities are going to look like. Once I'm satisfied with all of these selections, I'm going to click on Done. I've now finished filling out all of the details of Nestor's shift. Once I'm satisfied with all of it, I could click on Save, and if I want to share the specific details with Nestor, I could click on Share. For now, I'm going to click on Save because I want to go through and finish the entire shift view before I share it with the team. I'm now back on the main shift screen, and I could go through and I could assign shifts to each individual employee, or instead of doing that, I could simply set up an open shift that my employees can go in and claim. I think I'm going to go do that instead. To create an open shift, up here there's a row for open shifts. There are currently 0 shifts, but let me double click into here to add some additional shifts. When I click in, this opens up a view similar to what we saw before. Instead of choosing an individual though, this is going to be an open slot. Here you can see that the toggle is set to open. I could also untoggle it and type in a specific individual's name. I want this to be an open shift, so I'm going to toggle this on. Now, along with Nestor working as one of our service staff members, I want 2 other people to work alongside Nestor. I'm going to click on this drop down and I'm going to select 2 slots. Here too, I could choose the timing of that slot. I could even give it a custom label. I could add notes just like I could before, and I could add activities. For now, I'm just going to leave it all as is and click on Save. I've now added some open shifts for the service staff. I'm going to go do the same for our kitchen staff. I've now added a whole bunch of open shifts, and I've also assigned one. I want to show you what else we can do within shifts. If we look up at the top right hand corner, there are different ways that we could visualize all of the shifts. Right now, the view that we see is a weekly view. We see 7 days worth of shifts. If I click up here, I could also switch it to just a daily view. So I could see 1 day at a time, and here I could shift it to a monthly view. So however you want to visualize your data, you could very easily change it. Along with shifting the week, I can also click on print. So once I'm satisfied with my schedule, and maybe once other people have come in and they've claimed some of these shifts, I could print it out so when people show up at the retail location, they could just confirm what their shift looks like. Along with being able to print, I also have different filters that I can apply to my shifts down below. When I click on filters, I could filter it by my different groups of employees. For instance, if I click on service staff, it'll hide the kitchen staff view, and I could bring kitchen staff back. I could also narrow down my shift by individual employee. Let's say that Nestor came by my office and he had some questions about his shifts. I can go down here and I could click on Nestor, and I could sort the view only to him. Moving across the top, I also have different views for all of the shifts. For instance, I could look at my shifts. Right now I have it set so I see the entire team shift. My shift is simply a way of filtering down to what my schedule looks like. I could view by people, or alternatively, I can view by shift. When I click to view by shift, here I see that I have 1 assigned shift tomorrow, and I have 2 open for the service staff and 3 open for the kitchen staff. Within view, I also have different options in terms of how I view this. I could break it up by groups. I currently have this broken up by groups. I could also view it by open shifts and availability. So there are many different ways that I could visualize what my schedule looks like for this retail location. Now that we've looked at a few different ways that we could visualize our data, I want to show you what some of the other options are within shifts. When I go up to the top bar, currently we're in the schedule tab or the schedule view. When I click on requests, this is where I can see any requests that have come in from my employees. For instance, if they want to request time off, or maybe they want to select or claim one of the open shifts, I could go ahead and approve those requests here. In a moment, we'll have one of our employees come in and we'll see what this looks like. Next, we could click into settings, and here within settings, once again, I could go through, I could modify the time zone, I could set when the week starts, I could copy shifts, open shifts. These are various categories that my employees can request if they want to request time off. For instance, vacation, unpaid, sick day. These are a lot of the common ones, but you might have other reasons that you want to include on your list. Now, the last one here, and this is a very cool feature, you can turn on a time clock. So when your employees arrive at the retail location, so with the Kevin Cookie Company, when someone shows up in the morning, I want them to start the clock, and when they leave in the evening, I want them to stop the clock. So let's click on Begin Setup to see how this works. This opens up the time clock setup. Now, if you just turn on the clock as is, anyone could go into the Shifts app via Microsoft Teams and they could clock in and they could clock out. Now, one of the problems is maybe the employee is not actually at our location when they're clocking in. Now, that wouldn't work too well. So I'm going to check this box to include location detection for the mobile app. Now, what's neat about this is if it detects that the employee is near these coordinates, it'll clock him in properly. But if they're somewhere else, they won't get credit. So I'm going to copy these location coordinates and just use this as an example, and I'm going to turn on the time clock setup. Now, any of your employees who use this, if you turn it on, they'll need to make sure they turn on location tracking within the Teams app. I'm going to click on Turn On. Now that I've turned on the time tracking and reporting, let's say that maybe at the end of the week, I just want to verify that all my employees showed up for their shifts as I expect them to. I could export a report and I'll get information on when they checked in, when they checked out, when they took any breaks, and also if they were at the appropriate location when they took those actions. I've now gone through and I've configured the schedule exactly how I want it to be. Now, on a week-to-week basis, this schedule won't really change that much, and I'd really hate to have to recreate it. Luckily, up here in the top right-hand corner, there's the option to copy the schedule. If I click on this, I can take my current schedule for this week, I can make some tweaks to it, and then I could paste it into several weeks into the future. So that way I don't have to go back and recreate any of these shifts. I'm feeling pretty good about this shift schedule coming up, and I want my employees now to go in and claim some of these open slots. To do that, first I need to share this shift schedule with my team. To do that, up in the top right hand corner, there's a button that says Share with Team. Let's click on that. This opens up the Share with Team dialog, and I could select what time period I want to share with my team. I'm going to select this week in October, and I'm going to choose to share it with my entire team. Now, if I made only some modifications for some of my team members and not all, I could also set it up so it only notifies affected team members. In this case, I want to share it with the entire team since we're going to have some open shifts. Next, I'm going to click on Share. I'm now in Nestor's account, and I want to show you what it looks like from a team member's perspective. Just like we did before, to access Microsoft Shifts, we're going to click into the ellipses and then click on Shifts. This opens up Microsoft Shifts, and it's a little bit cleaner than before because it's filtered down just to me, Nestor, and I could see my specific schedule. Now, I'm really excited because Kevin has assigned me a shift tomorrow when the Michelin reviewer is visiting, so that must mean that Kevin really likes my customer service. Now, I could see over here that there's an open shift on Friday and also on Saturday. Now, I could use a few more hours. I want to make some more income, so let me claim the Friday shift. I'm going to click into the Friday shift. Once I click on it, this opens up a dialog, and I can now request this shift. I've now requested the Friday shift, and on Saturday, I don't know if I necessarily want more time. I like having the weekend with my family, so I'm actually going to request a day off. To request a day off, I'm going to go up to the top bar and click on Requests. Within Requests, I could see my shift request here. I'm also going to click on New Request. When I click on New Request, it's set by default to time off. I'm going to select Saturday as the time that I want to take off, and it's going to be for vacation. Now, if I go over, I could also see that I have the ability to swap shifts with other employees, and I could even offer up my shift to others. For now, I'm going to go ahead with my time off request. Once I'm ready, I'm going to click on Send Request. I now see 2 requests are pending, and I need my manager, Kevin, to go in and approve these requests. I've now requested both a shift on Friday, and I've also requested some time off on Saturday. Now, when I actually start my shift, I'm going to have to make sure to click on this Clock In button. I could do this from both the desktop, and I could also use it on my mobile device via Teams and going into the Shifts app experience. I'm going to click on Clock In, and this is going to kick off my clock in time. I'm going to click on Yes. Once I click on Yes, it indicates that I've been clocked in, and here above, I can see how long I've been on point. Once I'm all done, once again, I'll click on here, and I could either start a break or I could clock out. Back here on Kevin's screen, I can see that there's a vacation request, and there's also a request for the Friday time slot. I could either click into these and approve, or I could click on requests to see a summary of all of the requests. I've already gone in and I've approved Nestor's vacation request, and here I see that he also requested a shift on Friday. I'm going to click on Nestor's name, and then I'm going to click on the button that says approve. You know, Nestor's a fantastic employee. He's working really hard, so I'm glad he requested some time off on Saturday. Now that we've gone through most of the core functionality in Microsoft Shifts, I want to show some additional settings that you have available to you. Up here in the top right hand corner, there's the More Options menu under the ellipses. Let's click on this. Here I can view a shared schedule. Let's say I made some edits that I didn't mean to make. I could recall the shared schedule, make my changes, and then publish it out again. Here I can even export a schedule or import a schedule. When you import a schedule, you can import an Excel file. It'll give you a template that you could use to import a schedule. It might be a little easier working there than within the Shifts interface. Lastly, over on the left hand side, there's the hamburger menu. If we click on this, this is where you can jump between schedules. Now, I have a schedule set up for my team called the New York City Times Square flagship, but if you remember from earlier, I have 2 other locations as well. If I click down in the bottom left hand corner, I could add a new schedule for these other locations. That way I could manage and track each schedule individually. Along with being able to manage shifts here within Microsoft Teams on the desktop or within a browser, you can also use Microsoft Shifts on your mobile device. All you need to do is launch the Teams app, and then just like you can on the desktop app, you can click in and access the Shifts experience. This way your employees or you can access this same experience on the go. All right, that was a quick look at how you can use Microsoft Shifts within Microsoft Teams. With this Michelin reviewer coming tomorrow, hopefully we can get our star or two. I've heard that that can make or break your business. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see future videos like this, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get a notification anytime new content like this comes out. And lastly, if you want to see me cover any other topics in the future, leave a note down below and I'll add it to my list of videos to create. All right, that's all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed and I hope to see you next time. Bye.